You ever just stand there, watching your whole life's work, your family's legacy, get swallowed up right in front of you? And you realize, in that moment, nobody's coming to help? That was me, David Miller, 45 years old, former city building inspector, supposed to know all the tricks in the book. But I'll never forget that day I rolled up to what should have been my father's land, only to see 30 cookie-cutter houses sprouting like weeds, every window sparkling with someone else's dream. And then she appeared, Karen Hastings, queen of Rosewood Heights, self-appointed ruler with a clipboard, fake pearls, and a smile sharp enough to cut glass. I swear, you couldn't have written her better if you tried. She looked me dead in the eye like I was some trespasser on my own land. Said she had every right to be there, that I was the threat, the outsider, the guy trying to steal homes from grieving families. Honestly, it was almost funny, except it wasn't. You know what I mean? She'd built this little empire, all smoke and mirrors, and she was about to find out what happens when you push the wrong guy too far. Let me back up a sec. After 20 years dealing with permit scams and shady contractors, I took early retirement to care for my old man. When he passed away 3 months ago, he left me the 5-acre lot our family'd owned since my granddad bought it raw, way back in the 50s. And in that short window, Karen managed to do what most people couldn't pull off in a lifetime. Turn our family's land into her personal fiefdom and rope in 30 innocent families with her homeowners association routine. First wave hit me less than a day after we met. She blasted out a group text to every single homeowner, complete with my name, a mugshot-style photo, and this wild story that I was a con man trying to prey on grieving people. I mean, she spun it so hard she nearly convinced me I was the bad guy. By the next morning, my mailbox held a letterhead from Hastings Legal, her husband's side hustle, pretending to be a lawyer, threatening me with everything from trespassing to emotional distress. The language? All smoke, all bluff. But I'd seen that game 100 times. But the real power move was the public shaming. She printed flyers, got a couple local council folks to endorse her, called a community meeting at the rec center, and painted me as the villain. Flyers everywhere. Protect our neighborhood from land grabs. I'm telling you, she could have run a political campaign. She spun it so well, 2 councilmen showed up, thinking they were doing the right thing. Things escalated fast. She started saying I was mentally unstable, traumatized from losing my father, a danger to the neighborhood kids. 3 families filed police reports saying I was lurking around, making threats, when all I was doing was measuring boundaries on land that, on paper, still belonged to me. I mean, come on. Only in America can a guy surveying his own property get the cops called on him. And Karen? She was just getting started. She set up a Facebook page, Save Rosewood Heights. Uploaded photos of kids playing, families grilling, sweet old folks walking their dogs. All with captions about how some greedy outsider was trying to destroy their dreams. Next thing I knew, there were petitions, 300 signatures, private security guards patrolling the block, and no trespassing signs every 50 feet. She even started live streaming any time I showed up, her documenting harassment, me just trying to walk my own land. I knew, deep down, that this kind of scam only works as long as people stay scared and in the dark. But Karen didn't know who she was messing with. So while she was putting on a show for social media, I went the old-fashioned route, called in favors, documented everything, started building a federal case from the ground up. First call, Michael Torres, now county chief inspector, old friend who owed me for some headaches. I saved him back in the day. I told him, Mike, there's 30 homes here. No permits, no inspections, nothing. He was speechless. Within 3 days, his team did a full sweep, confirmed my suspicion. Not one single permit. Not for houses, not for utilities, not for the roads, or even the community center. Then I brought in Sarah Kim, ace real estate attorney, hard as nails, but with a soft spot for families getting ripped off. Sarah took one look at the paperwork and said, David, this is more than trespassing. It's wire fraud, mail fraud, maybe even racketeering. She started digging and found Karen had been selling these lots for years, marketing with fake brochures and a slick website, forging documents that looked real enough to fool banks, even county officials. But here's where it gets wild. Karen's own husband, Robert Hastings, a civil engineer with his own firm. Turns out, Robert was in the dark about most of it, until Karen started leaning on him to sign off on fake surveys and engineering reports. When he realized how deep she was in and saw real families getting burned, he quietly started copying contracts, financial records, waiting for the right time. We met in secret. Robert was nervous, but determined. I couldn't keep watching her do this to people who saved their whole lives, he said. He handed me a folder, real estate contracts, emails, bank statements showing Karen pulled in over $3 million, all from land she never legally owned. She told everyone it was HOA dues and fees. All smoke, all lies. Finally, Karen decided to throw one last emergency HOA meeting. She rented out the rec center, called the news, dressed up like she was going to trial, ready to publicly bury me. She started with her speech about community, how I was out to ruin their lives. The crowd ate it up for a while. She even had slides, photos, testimonials, the whole 9 yards. But she made one mistake. She let me talk. I asked for 5 minutes, just 5. Homeowners wanted to hear me out, to see if I really was the monster she claimed. I walked up, holding boxes of documents, and I asked, how many of you have ever seen the original property deed for this land? Not a single hand went up. Then I laid it all out. Deeds from 1953, tax records showing my family paid property taxes for 70 years straight, original county maps marking every boundary. I explained, as a former inspector, there were 0 permits ever issued for this entire development. Not one. The room got quiet fast. But the real shock came when I introduced Robert. Here's someone who knows the truth, I said. Robert got up, voice shaky but clear, and said, Karen's been running a real estate con for 8 years. I have the proof. And then, boom, he dumped everything out on the table. Contracts, fake surveys, proof of fake HOA bylaws. It hit people hard, realizing they'd been sold a dream that wasn't real. To top it off, I played a recording, Karen, caught on tape, trying to bribe my friend Mike to make the problem disappear. The sound of her voice offering cash, played over the speakers, was the end of her story. Within hours, the FBI swooped in, arresting Karen for wire fraud, tax evasion, bribery, the works. Her whole empire fell apart overnight. But that wasn't the real twist. See, the 30 families living on my land. They bought in good faith. They weren't scammers. They were just folks looking for a home, trying to build something for their kids. So, with Sarah and Robert's help, I worked out a solution. Families who'd already paid Karen a fortune only needed to pay a fraction more to get legal deeds and bring their homes up to code. Robert even stepped up as head of the new, legitimate HOA, helping oversee repairs and make sure everything was above board. In the end, we turned that disaster into something real, something honest. Now, every year, Rosewood Heights throws a little justice festival, celebrating not just houses, but the idea that a real community is built on trust, transparency, and respect. And Karen? She's sitting in a federal prison, lost her house, her reputation, and the control she thought she'd keep forever. Sometimes justice isn't about revenge. It's about building something stronger after the storm. But let me ask you this. If you were in my shoes, would you have done the same? Is real justice letting people keep homes built on your family's land, or fighting tooth and nail to reclaim what's rightfully yours, no matter the cost? Tell me what you think. Drop your thoughts in the comments below, because in the end, every community story is written by folks like us. What would you have done?